this one.
We learned this week that we are living in a veritable gilded epoch of those incidents when some or other authority figure attempts to co-opt popular culture in the service of a broadly authoritarian agenda, then gets roundly yelled at by the creator of the culture in question. And those are always outstanding fun, as all right-thinking people agree. We learned that the custodians of the social media accounts of what remains of the White House had thought it would be amusing to soundtrack a gloating clip of arrests by US Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, with the hit song Juno by popular warbler Sabrina Carpenter. A selection possibly made because the song's lyrics reference handcuffs, although, so far as we understand it, in a context other than the detention of suspected illegal immigrants, or indeed of US citizens and green card holders who looked a bit foreign to otherwise unemployable men who enjoy dressing up as soldiers. Anyway, we learned that Carpenter was unamused, inveighing on social media as follows, as will now be read by Monocle's celebrity disgruntlement desk chief, Anita Riota.
This video is evil and disgusting. Do not ever involve me or my music to benefit your inhumane agenda.
And we learned that broadly similar grievances had been vented on behalf of a turtle, specifically this turtle.
Hey, it's Franklin.
For reasons from which we may have learned much about the approximate reading level of US Secretary of Defense who thinks he's Secretary of War but isn't, Pete Hegseth.
Controversy continues to follow Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth tied to military strikes against alleged drug boats. After Friday's Washington Post report raised concerns of possible war crimes, Hegseth took to social media over the weekend. He posted this, quote, fake book cover titled Franklin Targets Narco Terrorists.
Yes, we learned that Hegseth had commanded his preferred AI slop generator to rattle up a bogus book cover depicting children's cartoon character Franklin the Turtle unloading a rocket-propelled grenade at drug runners from the door of a helicopter. And we learned in few uncertain terms from Franklin's copyright holders that they did not envisage any such addition to the series, which mostly includes more wholesome titles such as Franklin Has a Sleepover, Franklin Goes to School, Franklin's Class Trip, and the Franklin Chainsaw Massacre. All right, we might have made up one of those.
Now, the Canada-based publisher behind these books was not happy. On Monday, Kids Can Press posted this statement, writing, quote, Franklin the Turtle is a beloved Canadian icon who has inspired generations of children and stands for kindness, empathy, and inclusivity, and strongly condemning, quote, violent or unauthorized use of Franklin's name or image, which directly contradicts these values.
We learned anyway, and once again, how far the United States has travelled down whichever road it is presently on, mostly by measuring the distance between the current US Secretary of Defense picking fights with a series of children's books and, say, such hypothetical historical comparisons as Robert McNamara feuding with Paddington Bear or Edwin Stanton challenging Louisa May Alcott to a duel. Ow! Something, something, turtle, something, something, America, something, something, shell of its former self. We assumed you'd seen the payoff coming, so didn't think it was worth spending too much time on the build-up. Hope that's okay. Appreciate your understanding. We did learn, however, that the present US administration's attitude towards Latin American drug runners is perhaps more nuanced than the jut-jawed table-banging of Pete Hegseth might lead one to believe, as we learned more about the parameters of President Donald Trump's mercy.
Tonight, the former president of Honduras, serving time in a U.S. prison, walking free after a pardon from President Donald Trump over the weekend. Juan Orlando Hernandez was serving a 45-year federal prison sentence after being convicted on drugs and weapons smuggling charges just last year.
Or did we?
Can you explain more about why you would pardon a notorious drug trafficker
Well, I don't know who you're talking about.
Our sympathies at this difficult time to whichever Hernandez or Hernandezes were supposed to have been pardoned, and it is, of course, a total mystery why Donald Trump, of all people, should have become preoccupied with the plight of a bellicose conservative nationalist with a recurring habit of disputing election results, an inner circle of obvious crooks and dingbats, a long career of dodgy dealing with dubious characters, and a well-chronicled history of looting the public purse, being imprisoned after serving 2 terms as his country's president. But returning to the subject of news stories likely to queue up a somewhat laboured introduction to an underwhelming punchline, and will be needing to wake the house accordionist, could someone please give Marcel a kick?
Laisse-moi tranquille.
We learned that aggrieved French folk appeared weirdly intent on making a live-action pancake.
I can't wait to see where this goes.
Tell me more.
Let's see where this goes.
We learned that Jordan Bardella, leader of the National Rally Party, having barely dusted off the flour thrown at him while visiting an agricultural fair in Vesoul, had been hit on the head with an egg in Moissac.
Casse-toi.
Absolutely killing it with the sound effects this week. We learned that French Plod had, yes, cracked the case, whisked a suspect into custody and so forth, almost as if they had decided that flour was one thing, but an egg...
Oh, no.
That's an oath.
Boo.
For Monocle Radio, I'm Andrew Mueller.